production. It's melodic, the truly hypnotic, along with the lady. Beat to the docks. Invest in the proper stocks, synchronize your clocks. Time is essential. Pat D came correct with a sequential order of the kicks and the snares. Upright bass line shadows the rhyme. The UK and the USA, doing it for you, no dues to pay. Sit back, relax, and vibe to the music. Seen a barricade, but we went right through it. Just another metaphor for life. Stay in control to relieve the strife as I move around. To get things going when words come alive. These lyrics keep flowing. Hip hop, jazz, and soul. It's in control. Hip hop, jazz, and soul. It's in control. Hip hop, jazz, and soul. It's in control. Hip hop, jazz, and soul. It's in control.
Constantly reminded of what I gotta be, but I wanna be something else in honesty. Negativity is always going on at me. From a little girl to a grown MC, rocking beats, what's stopping me? Nothing's changed, a few more mistakes and a lady in my name. Gone to CD from tapes, but it's really all the same. To escape every day, I write to maintain, living life in the rain. It shines once again when the mic bears my name. I think nothing of it, paradox and melodic, poetic like sonnets, so let it we promise to bring you the vibe. I hold method is honest and from deep inside, and be as I am, weak but I try. I feel aside, out of place, breathe out of time, over beats so divine, speak then I fly.
Hip hop, jazz, and soul. It's in control. 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 Feeling real good about the future. Sunshine and enterprise and tactics out with the industry. Winning this game of Monopoly. Not waiting around for the boardwalk. Make moves, show and prove by the way I talk. Looking for no regrets. Now you're rocking with the best.
Not stopping for a rest, but continue the melody. Music at its best, so it better be heavenly. Enters my entity, and don't mention my gender. See, I don't see it as negativity. Melodic Pat D, Lady P, sounded sweet. My mind is alive, I don't know how to sleep, so I write for this time and flow to the beat, breathing life into rhyme. Now I know how to speak.
Hip hop, jazz, and soul. It's in control. 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 Hip hop, jazz, jazz, jazz. Hip hop, jazz, jazz, jazz. Hip hop, jazz, jazz, jazz. Hip hop, jazz, jazz, soul, jazz, soul, soul.
Hello, everyone. My name is Dean. Let's talk crypto. This is where you can subscribe for almost daily Bitcoin updates and technical analysis. We track the price of Bitcoin as a proxy for the cryptocurrency markets at large. Today is April 19th, 2024, and I'm coming to you live for a special event, an extremely special event, something we haven't seen much of in the cryptocurrency space. Yes, I am referring to the Bitcoin halving. So I'm going to talk briefly about what is the Bitcoin halving, okay? What that is exactly for people who may not know, and what the implications of the Bitcoin halving are, okay? And specifically from a financial vantage, right? Like, you know, what does this mean for your investments? What does this mean for the price of Bitcoin and ancillary assets, right? Altcoins, the rest of the cryptocurrency market. So I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about where I see the price going, more or less, in this bull market. I'm also going to talk about the small time frames, what I see for Bitcoin in the immediate short term, and why I see that, okay? And I'm going to also try and dispel some things, a lot of popular misconceptions about what we should be seeing in the price given this halving event. So if that all sounds interesting to you, then watch until the very end. Hope everyone's having a good day, great day rather, and let's get started. Okay, let's get started with Bitcoin on the small time frames. Okay, and then we're gonna go to the halving. Then we're gonna just jump around, right, extemporaneously. So on the small time frames, here's what I'm seeing, and I talked about this in my Buy Me a Coffee member circle, right? Sometimes I publish updates when I'm not necessarily publishing video updates. I'll publish text updates, right? Just small write-ups in Buy Me a Coffee. If that interests you, then there's the link pinned in the comments below. Go ahead and subscribe. You can subscribe by buying me a coffee once or by signing up for the altcoin membership. In any case, I'm seeing Bitcoin on a small time frame going through a mini consolidation, and this is what we would call a Wyckoff accumulation, okay? And I understand that I'm on the hourly time frame, so it's not a massive time frame. But here, let's zoom out for a second for some context. So the context of this is what? The context of this is, and let's actually go to a different chart. So let me show you what the context of this all is, okay? So if you go on the higher time frame, Bitcoin has essentially been holding a small range for about 45 days, as you can see, okay? And if I would count this range, right? If I had to count this range, I'd count it as a triple three, a W, X, Y, X, Z, okay? And so what I showed you in the previous chart was this region right here, okay? And this is the Wyckoff accumulation that I was referring to. But the context of this is important to grasp. The idea is we've been in this range and we've held this range for 45 days. Even more, zooming out just a little more, it's important to realize that this range is in it's at resistance. So if you look at Bitcoin's chart for the past 4 years almost, we've come up to this point, which is all-time high, right? Around 70K, thereabouts, right? Right below $70,000. And that's pretty much where we're moving, right under, okay? And this is what you should expect. If anybody looks at charts long enough, we understand what I'm about to say. Before breaking major resistance, you always consolidate below it. You have to build strength. It's like anything in nature. To break a strong resistance, to break a strong barrier, it takes a bit of effort, okay? So this is the resistance, right? And you don't just go up and go through it. No, you go up, you consolidate at resistance, and then you break through like that, okay? So that's what we're going through, and that's what I'm seeing these 45 days of consolidation as, in a tight range, relatively tight range. That's, between 60 and 69K, which is, for all intents and purposes, a relatively tight range. So when I'm seeing people say, oh, Bitcoin is, doing this and doing that, and people are dumping it, and so it's like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? Bitcoin has been in a strong bullish trend for about 16 months, right? Since December 2022, and we've just been going up and up and up, and this is just more of the same. Strong uptrend, and then a reaccumulation. That's all that is. So I always like to look at the larger context of my small time frame analysis. I think that's important, or else you kind of lose the forest for the trees, or the trees for the forest. You know what I mean. You need context, or else it doesn't make sense decontextualized. So let's go back to this portion of the price action, which is where we're at right now, and let me show you what I'm seeing there. Let's see. So going back, here we go. you can see that, and let's go on the 4-hourly time frame. I would call this a small Wyckoff accumulation. Again, it's basically at the bottom of that 45-day range. And before, and I've said this many times, if you follow my work, you understand, this concept. Once you have completed this 45-day WXYXZ 333, whatever you want to call it, right? This accumulation range, once you've completed it, you don't just go up. No, you have to reaccumulate at the bottom of the range. That's what this is. It's a reaccumulation at the bottom of the range. That is what you should expect, because anytime price changes direction, you need to consolidate prior to doing that. Whether you're going from down to up, then you need an accumulation. You're going from up to down, you need a distribution. So this is the mini accumulation, and this has been going on now for 5 days, and I expect it to go for another 2 days or so. And I explained that in my last episode, why I thought that we would complete this accumulation on Sunday. Okay, it's partly because of the full moon that happens on the 21st, I believe, and the effects of the halving. Okay, so what I'm seeing now is, with any accumulation, you should be putting in 2 degrees of AB basing and a pivot. And this is like getting into the weeds, so I'm just gonna, I know some people are kind of new to all of this, so I'm not going to get too detailed in this, but essentially, when you're putting in these accumulation ranges, you can expect 3 pairs of corrections, okay? And so I color-coded them for ease of viewing. So the yellow one is the first pair. So that's an A wave, a flat correction, and another flat correction. That's finished, okay? So we need 2 more pairs. This is the second pair, okay? A wave, flat correction, or actually flat correction, and then another flat correction. That's your second pair. So I think we're basically on the 3rd pair of a corrective price action before we've completed this accumulation range, okay? And so I've put that in green here, and I've made it a bit transparent, only because I don't want for it to obscure the price action. But just so you can see it quite clearly, here's what I think is going to happen in the coming days. So right now is Friday, the last market day of trading, right? And typically what we see on weekends is a retracement back to levels of where we were when the market was live. Okay, and when I say the market, I'm referring to the US dollar currency index. You may not know this if you don't follow my work, but essentially, pretty much all risk-on assets follow the US dollar currency index, because the US dollar currency index is the dollar, represents the dollar, and basically we use US dollars and fiat currency to purchase Bitcoin, to purchase cryptocurrencies. So when those fiat currencies go up, then the cryptos go down, and vice versa. And if you look at Bitcoin and the US dollar, you can see a strong inverse correlation, and it's almost 1-to-1. Very clean and clear inverse correlation there. So essentially, all that to say is, whatever you see on the weekend typically doesn't hold, right? Like Friday should be, and right now we're Friday, right? This level right here is where you should expect, if we end the market, if we close here. So let's say this price action continues for two and a half more hours, right? Until the close of the markets, of traditional markets, close of trading of the US dollar currency index. Don't expect for whatever happens in the weekend to hold. Expect us to come back to this level. So that's actually not why I drew what I drew, but that is a further confirmation of this trading thesis, okay? So let's go back and make this transparent as to not obscure the price action. And what I'm seeing here is pretty much Bitcoin for the rest of today and into the weekend continue up this trajectory right here. I think we're in an impulse right here. And so what you're going to get is a move all the way up to 71.6 thereabouts, okay? Why 71.6? I think 71.6 because that's the next major resistance. As you can see here, the price kind of went here, found resistance, went here, tested again, found resistance. So whatever this is, I believe it's 71.6. Okay, this is where I think the party stops. So Bitcoin goes all the way up to this level, rejects again, and then what I believe will happen on Saturday and Sunday, or maybe Sunday into Monday, is we get this move right here, and that's going to be the final. That's going to finalize. That's going to do a couple of things. Firstly, it's going to finalize the last pair of AB basing, which is this green thing, right? 5 waves up, 3 waves down. Secondly, it's going to do what we believe every channel should do before it's broken. So to break a channel, you consolidate within it, you break up or break down from it, and then you retest it at the midline. Okay? Channels, as I always say on this channel, have 3 main aspects. The top, which is resistance, the bottom, which is support, and the midline, which is resistance when you're below it, support when you're above it. So the midline also has to be respected and retested, and that's what I believe will happen in the next 2 days. We go up to the 71.6 level, and then we come back down in 3 waves, retest the midline, also completing the 0.5 to 618 golden retracement of whatever you did on the weekend. And as I said, you're pretty much going back. So you don't have any liquidity on the weekend. That's the idea, because the US dollar currency index isn't trading, right? So whatever happens on the weekend basically gets erased. So that's what I think is going to happen. You go up to the 71.6 level. Last thing on this. Why 71.6 important? I'm going to show you. 1 second. I should have pulled this up before. So 71.6 is particularly important because there's a bunch of liquidity there. Okay, we can see on the chart that there's liquidity there because it's, previous resistance, but also a lot of people are under the impression that Bitcoin's going to nuke for some reason. Okay, and so given this, if you look at the liquidity heat map, what you will notice is, here, let's see. Let's do 3-day. I should have pulled this up earlier. My fault, but it shouldn't take too long. I'm sorry. Why? I don't know why they're not showing me. I like the 24-hour. I don't know why it's not showing me above 67,563. Let me see if I can't. Okay, I think I can do it here. No. Let's see. I'm trying to show you what's at 71.6 because I've seen this before, and basically there's a bunch of shorts. I'm not going to pull it up. I'm not going to waste time here. Essentially, at 71.6, a bunch of people have their stop losses for shorts. Okay, so essentially what I'm trying to say is this. If Bitcoin goes all the way up to 71.6, which I believe it will, in this move that it's currently in, a lot of shorts are going to be forced to go long. They're going to be squeezed, right? So the shorts are going to have to buy. They're going to be forced to buy, and they're going to be buying long. But obviously that's first, what's going on? There was a bunch of shorts here. Yes, there's a bunch of shorts here, but also a bunch of people taking profit here. Okay, so I think, anyway, all in all, you're going to get this retracement, but there's a bunch of liquidity here. So I think what you're going to see is the price, like electricity, like water, is going to grab that liquidity, move down, and then go back up after it clears this liquidity pool right there. So that's what I'm seeing on the small time frame. That's what I'm seeing for Bitcoin. So just a quick recap. Today's Friday. For the rest of the day into Saturday, maybe some of Sunday, I think Bitcoin and the rest of the cryptocurrency market continues to go up. Bitcoin specifically to about 71.6, 72,000. And then Sunday evening, Monday morning, we dump and we come back to exactly where we're at right now, which is the midline of this channel, around 63, 64K. Okay, and then we resume upwards price action. A lot of people are talking about going down to mid 50s and all that stuff. And if we were to do that, we would have done that here. Okay, we would have done that here. We would have done that here. That didn't happen. Okay, so that's what I'm seeing with Bitcoin on the small time frame. Let's get into the halving, because I did title this live stream as being about the halving. Okay, Bitcoin halving. What is it? So I'm going to try and make this as simple as possible. In Bitcoin's algorithm, there are blocks printed, okay? And miners, Bitcoin miners, because it's a proof of a work protocol, Bitcoin miners get rewarded every time they confirm blocks, okay? And every 210,000 blocks printed, the reward to those miners is halved. It's cut in half. Okay, what does that do? That basically controls the inflationary nature of the asset. So why are people spending electricity, spending money, spending resources, confirming Bitcoin blocks to make sure that Bitcoin is safe and that Bitcoin is secure? Well, because they get rewards, okay? And so every, more or less 4 years, but specifically every 210,000 blocks, we get the reward paid to those miners, the miners who secure Bitcoin transactions. It's halved. So if you got X amount, you get X over 2 every 210,000 blocks, more approximately every 4 years. And so if you look on the charts, because I'm into charts and this is my sort of bread and butter, you can see that Bitcoin has since had 3 halvings. This would be the 4th. Okay? Every single time, you can see on this chart, this is a monthly chart, okay? Meaning every bar, every candlestick is worth a month worth of trading. Every time Bitcoin halved, what do you see? Okay, you don't have to be a genius. You don't have to be. I've seen so much analysis on the Bitcoin halving that try to galaxy brain it, try to overcomplicate things, saying, oh, well, because of World War III and because of inflation, because of this, because of that, you should expect something different. Like, no, it's really simple. It's as simple as it gets. I'm looking for my pen here. It's as simple as it gets. You have the supply, the reward paid to the miners. The price is likely to double at the very least because you're creating buying pressure. Okay, so we're going to see. I'm not going to rehash that analysis, but in my previous episode, you can look it up if you'd like. I talked about how the chart shows that the next major resistance for Bitcoin is 150K. We're right under 70K. So that's essentially a doubling of the price. That makes sense because you're about to half the reward for the miners, meaning half the supply of Bitcoin. You're essentially having the supply. So here, every single time this has happened, once in November of 2012, you get a strong uptrend, right? Again, in July of 2016, strong uptrend following the halving. And then the third, and the previous halving was May of 2020. What happened? You got a strong uptrend. Okay? This time, what do you expect is likely to happen? We're literally we just said in our previous chart that we're consolidating under resistance, as you can very clearly see in this high time frame chart, consolidating under resistance, and you are right now at a halving. What do you expect? Okay, the likely answer is you go up, strong uptrend. Okay, and like I said, your next major resistance is this parabola right here, right? This parabola has served as resistance for the Bitcoin price every single time in its lifetime. So I don't expect for this to be any different. I expect to, once we get to this point right here, we find resistance, and that's around 150k, 140 to 150k, thereabouts. And that is, again, just the next major resistance. Doesn't necessarily mean that's the end of the bull market. A lot of people say that's the end of the bull market. Okay, to each his own. They can sell everything. Obviously, we're going to retrace from there, but to sell everything and to think the party's over, that's interesting to me. That's really interesting to me. So that's the halving. As in the most simplest terms, it's essentially a price shock. It's a supply. It is a. It's a supply shock, right? Because it reduces the supply significantly, and so the price reacts, is squeezed up. That's it. And it's just a way to keep the protocol non-inflationary, so that, you know, everybody doesn't have a million Bitcoin. It keeps it valuable. Okay, so that's Bitcoin dominant, or sorry, that's the Bitcoin halving. And no matter what's going on, what you think is going on in the world, that halving is going to happen. That halving is going to have an effect on the price, because it is an essential aspect. It is built in to the code. It's priced in. It's not priced in. It's a part and parcel of the protocol. It has to go up because of that. No matter what you think, and so many people are like really afraid and saying Bitcoin's gonna dump down to, you know, X price target, 50k, 40k, 30k, because Israel and Iran and, you know, the US and the Fed and stuff like that. Like, this is one of the reasons I don't think that fundamental things are unimportant, but in terms of trading, in terms of making trade theses, in terms of trading on the small and large time frames and making sense of where the market's likely to go, I think it's a complete waste of time. I think the charts will show you everything. The charts should include the greed and fear and, you know, all the news events that you could ever want. It should be in the charts. So once we're able to suss out the patterns in the charts, we should be able to, you know, find some sort of rhyme or reason to what's going on, especially on the higher time frames. And again, the Bitcoin halving event doesn't care what's happening across the world. It's going to happen in a few hours, and you can see here, it's in 6 hours this is happening, right? In 6 hours this is happening, and you're going to have a supply shock to the Bitcoin asset, and that is going to force the price to go up. It's going to force the price to go up. Maybe other things are pressuring the price to go down in some way, shape, or form, but that will have a positive effect on the price per dollar. Okay, so that's Bitcoin's halving, and I hope that dispels some of the misconceptions floating about as to why we should break down from here, right? Especially, right, let's see. Let me change charts real quick. I've seen so many big channels talk about how they're afraid because of the news, because of the current events and all that stuff. We should break down from here. Like, that doesn't even make sense. Like, graphically, right? Technically speaking, if you just look at this chart, why would you break down after having shown strength for 50 days at the bottom of this channel? What you're exhibiting is a move up and out of this channel. Okay, that's what you're exhibiting, not a breakdown. The breakdown would have happened and you would have gotten a lot more weakness from this. Can this continue like this and then you finally see some weakness? Yes, absolutely. But again, it's unlikely given everything I've said. All right. Now, the last point of this live stream is, what effect does this halving have on the rest of the cryptocurrency market? Bitcoin is just one asset in crypto. It's the most important asset, but it's just one asset. What effect does Bitcoin halving have on the rest of the cryptocurrency market? Glad you asked. Most people are concerned with this because most people are in non-Bitcoin assets. Bitcoin is one of tens of thousands of assets in the cryptocurrency space. And a lot of people, for some reason, think that if they bet on the right asset, the right non-Bitcoin asset, right, the right altcoin, they can make it big. They can hit the lotto, as it were. And so that is what everybody wants to do in cryptocurrency. Most people want to do in cryptocurrency, right? Make life-changing wealth. These altcoins will also benefit from Bitcoin's movement. But they also have their own ebb and flow. They have their own motion. I'm going to show you something. Most altcoins, and let's pull up, let's use this chart. I'm going to pull up the total 3. Okay, so the total 3 is a composite chart. It's not here, it is here. The total 3 is a composite chart of, let me turn off this indicator. So the total 3 is a composite chart of the altcoin space, and it's essentially all altcoins minus Bitcoin and Ethereum. Okay, total 2 is minus just Bitcoin, but total 3 is minus Bitcoin and Ethereum. Okay, and I'm pulling up the total 3 because I think it's more representative of more assets, but even still, lots of altcoins are down here. So even the total 3 doesn't represent a ton of altcoins that have literally yet to move, that are literally right now sitting at their bear market lows at these levels. And I'm not kidding, I can show you some in a moment. So the idea is this: Bitcoin, as we said, has been in a strong, clean and clear bull market since 2021. Okay, so since the end of 2022. So essentially the beginning of 2023, right? So at this point, if you were to superimpose, let's say Bitcoin is like this, these altcoins have been like this and only started moving up. They're starting to catch up. And again, you have a lot of altcoins that are still right here. They have to catch up. And they're going to start catching up with the halving event. Because once the halving happens, the buying pressure that's placed on Bitcoin is such that it starts moving more impulsively, more frequently. And that starts moving the entire cryptocurrency market, right? A rising tide lifts all boats. And so now we're going to start to see a lot of these altcoins start to catch up. Okay? So I would say even the total 3 doesn't adequately represent a lot of small cap altcoins. So look at your small cap altcoins independently. And also keep an eye out on Bitcoin dominance chart. And this is a chart that I always talk about, right? Because if you want to see what altcoins are doing against Bitcoin, right, this is the chart you want to see, you want to make sense of, right? Because look, right now, you can tell altcoins, the majority of altcoins have done nothing against Bitcoin, and Bitcoin's been going, and altcoins have done nothing, because this is as high as it could ever go. Bitcoin dominance is as high as it could ever go. What does that mean? That means that Bitcoin is creaming altcoins, that Bitcoin is pretty much been gaining against altcoins ever since October of 2022, December of 2022, or January of 2023. Ever since Bitcoin's going up, altcoins have not been doing much of anything. Do you see how you can read this chart? And again, why do you come here? Why do you watch my channel? It's not for conspiracy theories. It's not to talk about, what the World War III, what implications that may have on the price. It's not to talk about any of that. I just like to look at the charts, and I like to make sense of chart analysis. So when I'm looking at this Bitcoin dominance chart, I'm seeing Bitcoin dominance go up pretty much in a 45-degree angle ever since Bitcoin has been going up. And that tells me that if I'm invested in anything but Bitcoin, I don't expect it to have performed much at all. That's a whole 16 months. These altcoins are pretty much as high as they can be. Why are they as high as they could be? Because they're at this resistance. This resistance is a very high time frame resistance, okay? It's a 2,500 day resistance. You're not breaking this resistance, at least not like this, okay? So essentially, every time you get to this resistance, you come down and we have what we call an alt season. Okay, we've been waiting on this breakdown for the longest time. And so that's what we're waiting on, this breakdown of this particular chart pattern. Okay, and when that happens, it's more beneficial to be in non-Bitcoin assets, generally speaking. Again, it's general. I'm not talking about, one random altcoin here or there. It's just in aggregate. So you can see how if you've been in altcoins, if you've been holding altcoins, at the exclusion of Bitcoin especially, you've been in pain, and you've been in pain for ever since the bull market in Bitcoin has begun, because it hasn't generally performed. Okay, while Bitcoin has performed and gone up and to the right, these haven't. When this starts breaking down, and it looks like it's pretty much it is at the highest point, it is at the resistance, so there's nowhere to go but down. That's when you start to get some relief. That's when we start to get really legendary gains in the cryptocurrency space, when this market cap chart starts breaking down. And just going on a smaller time frame, I'm on the daily right now, I was just on the weekly, you can see. So this is a 2,500 day resistance, consolidating at resistance, and basically this is an attempt to break out of this chart pattern, right? But is this a legitimate breakout? That's the question. So, and here's why. One, if this were a legitimate breakout, the first move up would have been a lot bigger. Secondly, you've already put in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days, right, of price action to the upside, and you come down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You're already down, and you've been down for quite some time, longer than the time you've gone up. What's likely to happen is a failure to repeat this, or to continue this pattern, to continue this move up. And that's what we're waiting for. Basically, on the higher time frames, we're looking for a swing failure pattern, and this is what we've seen happen historically with this chart. Let's go back on the weekly. So you can see it very clearly on the weekly. It's not just hitting the resistance and going down. No, you swing fail at the resistance. You break it ever so slightly, and then you fail. You break it ever so slightly, and you fail. That's what we're waiting for, okay? And you can see here the momentum indicator on the weekly time frame. The stochastic RSI momentum indicator is overbought. So that's also telling you your swing failure pattern is likely coming. Okay. With the rest of the time, now that we've gotten the major analysis out of the way, high time frame, small time frame, Bitcoin dominance, let's talk about a few altcoins and get out of here. All right, let's see. Let's see what Bitcoin looks like on the small time frames. Basically just consolidating at this newly broken resistance. Okay, the midline, right? The midline of this channel. Remember, channels, the support, the resistance, and the midline. You just broke through the midline. You're retesting it. Now you continue through, and you're gonna do another proper retest. That's what I'm seeing. We're still playing that trade plan out on Bitcoin. Okay, I'm currently trading these 5. So let's just go through what I'm currently trading because I have a familiarity with that. All right. I'm going to actually go through these on a small time frame and large time frame. So these are my large time frame charts for these particular assets. So Balancer is one of the examples that I said this is at the bear market lows, okay? Bitcoin, ever since, early 23, going like this. Meanwhile, Balancer has been continuing to consolidate in a bear market, essentially, okay? So what you're getting here is hopefully the capitulative or final corrective pattern of the bear market, where now you're starting to come up and out, okay? And so again, you're at the bear market lows there on the high time frame, okay? Small time frame. Let's zoom in to the hourly. Small time frame. You're looking at a mini Wyckoff accumulation, okay? That's what I'm seeing. This is how I'm counting it. So you came down, this is your orthodox low, meaning that's the final move, that's the final impulse of your bear market corrective pattern. And so what comes after this is all that accumulation, right, channel before switching directions. Okay, that's what I'm seeing, that's how I'm reading it. So what I do personally when I see something like this is, okay, I count the first break, okay, is my A wave. I count that as an A wave targeting wave 4 of the previous trend, okay? That's called an automatic rally, I believe, in Wyckoff terms, okay? So that basically sets the table, okay? And then because this is a 5-wave or impulsive sequence, I'm looking at this as a 3-wave move down to between the 0.5 and the 618. So that's what I counted this as B, okay? And so here I have my secondary A wave, secondary B wave, then my last pair, right, of pivoting right here. So my alpha wave and then my beta wave, okay? So for me, I'm seeing all of this as a more bullish, so a more bullish version of what you're seeing in Bitcoin. It's a tighter range. The accumulation was such that this is so oversold that the initial break of structure was a 5-wave sequence Unlike Bitcoin, that was a 3-wave move. Do you see what I mean? Does that make sense? Like right here, because Balancer and a lot of small cap altcoins are so oversold and have been oversold for the past, hundreds of days, right? Because it's essentially at the bear market lows. Your drop, that 50% drop, or however much it dropped, came down. There's too much buying pressure for it to come back down here. So that's how I traded it. And basically, I was comfortable setting my stops below here, given that I recognized that this was impulsive 5-wave move. So just throwing Fibonacci retracements on there, I knew I would be safe below the 0.618, and even this respected the 0.618 of this A wave. Do you see what I mean? So basically, I'm seeing my 3 degrees of AB basing, or 2 degrees of AB basing in a pivot, or 3 pairs of AB basing here. Okay, and that's your AB basing. It's finished. And so what I'm expecting is something like this. Okay, so that's what I'm seeing with Balancer. You're essentially getting this boom, boom, boom. My next, maybe a little higher, somewhere in here, my next target. Okay, and so once you Monday, Sunday, late Sunday, early Monday, midday Monday retracement, you set this as you're retracing down to here, and then you continue, something like that. Okay, but essentially I see these continuing, just like Bitcoin is in an impulse. I see this being in an impulse too, and I see us bull flagging right here. Okay, so that's Balancer. So that's just an example. Here I can give a few more examples of some small cap altcoins. Hook, that's one I got given before. Again, bear market lows. Look at this on the daily time frame. This is the bear market right here. The drawdown and the accumulation. You're at the bottom of the bear market. If you compare, and I know this show uses Bitcoin as a proxy for the cryptocurrency markets at large, but I think one thing I learned is that the timing isn't even close. Because if you were to tell me that most altcoins would be 16 months behind Bitcoin, I don't know if I would have believed you. But now I know the lag between where altcoins are and Bitcoin can be that drastic. Again, this is at the bear market lows. Imagine if Bitcoin were all the way at 16K. That is the equivalent. So 16 months ago, Bitcoin was around 16K. Okay, it was under 20,000 US dollars per Bitcoin. That's where this is, at the bear market lows. And so it has yet to do any positive price action the past 16 months, you've been in hell. You've been in this small accumulation zone, which is essentially a no trade zone. It's a minefield. You go up and down and up and down and up and down. You're retracing where to set your stops, where to set your invalidation points, what kind of corrective price action is going to happen. It's all just, it's very capricious. It's very tough to trade. But now, finally, you start leaving this zone. You start leaving this zone and going into more straightforward, impulsive price action, where you can just bank on the fact that you're never going to retrace below 0.618. Okay, you're always going to keep up some positive impulsive momentum. So that's what I'm seeing on the higher time frame with hooked, and on the smaller time frame, just like in Balancer, you came down with this big move to the downside, and you immediately put in a 5-wave move, okay, targeting wave 4 of the previous trend. Maybe this was the 5-wave move all the way here. Yeah, wave 4 of the previous trend, and this is your 3-wave sort of counter. So your initial break of structure is a 5-wave move. Once again, too much buying pressure, so you're not even at any point coming back down below these levels. So that's how I traded it. And so all this is the subsequent 2 degrees of AB basing, or the AB base, the secondary AB base, and then the pivot. And so what I'm seeing here at this point is the start of your impulse. Okay, that's what I'm seeing. And so for the next 2 days, if my analysis of Bitcoin is correct, I'm seeing these altcoins also respond, but even more. So if Bitcoin's going up 17, 18, 19%, these altcoins are going to hit the next major resistance, which should, for this asset, be around here, right? Right below this. Because remember, you were in this is very nice textbook head and shoulders bearish reversal pattern right here. Okay? And so that was your previous support. You lost it and you just died. Okay? You lost previous support. Now what you're likely to do is you turn previous support or previous previous support becomes new resistance. But if we're in a bullish trend, what do we expect? Probably to break this and to keep going. That's what I expect. Okay, if we were not in a bull market, if we were not changing the trend right here, because this AB base right here changes the trend, the character of the price action. If we were still corrective, I would expect us to find some serious resistance here and then continue like this. But because we are in a new sort of in a new, what's the word I'm looking for? Because we're in a new season of price action, the quality of price action, right, goes from corrective to impulsive. I think you break this, come back down, and you go like that. That's what I'm seeing. So I believe that you're going to get some serious moves in altcoins, like, going up 80-90%, where Bitcoin's only going up 17%. Okay, let's do one last one, unless there are any requests. I know I don't do many lives, but if you have any requests, go ahead and put it in the chat. But I'm gonna do one more, because I think you guys are getting the hang of it, or at least I hope you are. Okay, let's do one last one. Let's do quant. Let's do quant. This one's a little different, but not too much different. Okay. So the idea is, this is a small cap altcoin, relatively speaking. And again, you have the idea of being at your bear market lows. So here's the bear market for quant, here's a drawdown, and here's a subsequent accumulation. Okay, the initial break of structure here did prove to be strong. Okay, it gives you a 5-wave initial break of structure, and then the subsequent AB base and pivot stayed above this level right here. Okay, but still, this counts as the bear market low, and that's where you're at right now. Okay, so again, if you've been in quant, if you've been in hook, if you've been in what's the other one I just did? Wow. Blur or whatever. You've literally been bleeding out because you've been trying to trade. Maybe you've been trying to trade, maybe you haven't been trying to trade, but you've not seen any significant positive price action in your investment. Okay, but now things should change. Okay, so on the small time frame, going on the hourly, you can clearly see you did what you did on the higher time frame on the smaller time frame very nicely. You put in an initial break of structure that was an impulse, right, targeting wave 4 of the previous trend. Okay, and now you're putting in your subsequent B wave, another A wave, another B wave, pivot right here, and this now, all this right here is your impulse. So this is what I'm seeing. And what am I targeting for this weekend? And I'm seeing, going back on the higher time frame, I'm seeing us go and break. So when something's bullish, how do you know it's bullish? One of the definitions of bullish price action is that you're breaking previous highs. When something's bearish, how do you know it's bearish? You're breaking previous lows. You're making higher highs, higher lows. So what are my previous highs? Here are my previous highs for quant. I'm seeing us break that previous high and retest those previous highs as support. Previous resistance switched into support. So when Bitcoin is coming back down on Monday or late Sunday to hit the midline of its accumulation channel, I expect these altcoins to retest significant resistance as new support. That means that they should be making pretty significant moves to the upside right here. Okay, in the case of quants, that's about 119% move. I wouldn't be surprised if that happened. Guys, that's all I've got. I hope that was helpful. I hope this was useful. Like, share, and subscribe if you got value, as always. And good luck, best of luck in this bull run. Best of luck with your trading. Best of luck with your investing. And I'll see you next time. Take care. Happy halving.